Alright, we got a good little update today, but to start with, we're going to open this box, since this one has a little bit more to it. You know, I'm just doing this on its own one second. And I think y'all have seen me do this a lot before. Hopefully it makes sense and you don't think I'm nutter just a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. Part of the reason some of these are ordered through Right Stuff is because they weren't on Amazon for some reason. I mean, they were there, but they just weren't in stock. I'm not pre-ordering this stuff as easily as I used to, that's for sure. But, you know, anime. Still like getting all the physical medium, even if I'm not doing it with it. Alright. For starters, we have a Cine Hunter Movie TV Special Collection. Yeah, nothing else to it. I see an English dub. Oof. I think it's different underneath the slipcover, which is always very nice. They're disc 1 and disc 2, so like it's not like all movies and all specials on one versus the other. Not a reversible cover, but that's okay. I do like the combination of the two. Next up, we have Shaman King. This should be the original Japanese language with English subtitles version. I believe a dubbed-only version came out somewhat recently. Although recently could be anything within the last 6 months. I'd both remember and completely forget that stuff. So you can see on the back here, this is Japanese with English subtitles only. Region A. Good to note. Different in this other slipcover, that's always nice. At least I'm pretty sure I got an English dub version. It sounds familiar. I saw that it was listed, but I didn't see it was coming up, and again, I thought I got it. Non-reversible cover again, but that's cool. I like the way it came out. Tetsujin 28 FX, the complete TV series. There's 47 episodes in standard definition, so SD on BD. It says it right there. Like, I was pretty sure I did not come up with that terminology. Pretty sure being 95% sure. I just needed to find that satisfaction for that 5% by remembering where specifically I'd seen it. This looks like Japanese with English subtitles only. The Real Hero Returns. This one's the same underneath the slipcover. So, okay, not everything can get the perfect slipcover treatment. So this is one, even though the image goes a little over here, it's mostly black over here. So we had our one side. Good. The King of Braves, GaoGaiGar. Thinking it felt weird. This is a series where I feel like it's worth the time investment. So this one I remember watching, but I definitely remember the first half is definitely very Monster of the Week sort of thing, and it maybe isn't as obvious that, oh yes, I should keep watching it if you watch it. But then the second half is just like, okay, this is actually building up to something. So we got some doubles and stuff. Courage and guts are the key to victory. If I were to say there's a interesting, okay. So it's different underneath the slipcover. It doesn't strike me as so ridiculously different. A little plastic damage there. But still interesting to know. But yeah, for the most part, I highly appreciated it. And it looks like they're doing it a lot, where these images fade off and there's not anything really back there, which is kind of good. Because imagery behind there tends to be harder to see. This feels more presentable. Oh, but yeah, this is a show where if I were to say that you would like it, it'd probably be because it just kind of starts going down this fun, absurd rabbit hole. Let's see. Next up, we have Ascendance of a Bookworm. Do anything to become a librarian. This should be season 3. Although the things that say that appear to be pretty small. Right, I'm looking at that. It's not focusing. No, not that. I'm looking at that. And it does say season. Yes. Making sure I didn't make a mistake. To save our people, she'll have to leave. Anyways, regions A and B, we have the dub and sub options. I did get the impression this was the end of it. Different underneath the slipcover. That's kind of nice. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. And while there were elements of this that I think were supposed to be kind of cool and impactful, something about the way seasons 1 and 2 did certain things made those more effective, I thought. Not necessarily bad, but, you know, just from what I remember of having watched everything. There's some plastic there that was... Anyways. Got disc 1. Disc 2. Interesting that that's not... Because I did want to take a peek. This looks like... Looks like that image gets moved here, but there's no back if I did that. But I guess if you wanted to, you could... No? Yeah, it is that image, okay. You do have access to a third image for this series if you wanted to. Good stuff. Dino Mech Gaiking, complete TV series, another 44 episodes, SD on BD. SD on BD? What did I say? What did I say? I don't know. I feel like I got it wrong. Here, Japanese with English subtitles only. Earth is under alien attack. It always is. Different underneath the slipcover. You know, both images being a little on the simpler side, but I think it's kind of good for, you know, being able to choose your representation, what you want to see as, oh yeah, this is Dino Mech Gaiking. If you're familiar with it, I'm not. But I would guess this show's actually pretty old. Some of this character design artwork stuff looks like, I don't know, 60s, 70s something. I'm quitting heroing and, you know, joining the Demon King's army. You know, this is one of the shows I watched that was on a high dive. I guess that's why, if I now look closely, I'll probably notice that this says it's from Sentai. If this plastic would stop latching on, it's really annoying. Come on, you piece of crap. See, look at that stupid, and there's still some on there. Ugh. Okay, region A, looks like there's an English dub option. To try going bad. Disc 1. Disc 2. Actually, I'm kind of curious. There should also be an OVA for this, or 2 that I didn't watch. Let's see, and if I take a look, 12 episodes plus 2 OVAs on 2 discs. It's just right there. Good. Next up, we have Lupin the Third Part 6 on Blu-ray. The World's Greatest Thief versus the World's Greatest Detective, but I didn't think this was a crossover with Detective Conan. Ha 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 ha. Although, I'm not sure if that's really what it's going for, but they are a very popular combo. I have not watched the special or the movie, but I'm interested. I just never seem to get around to some stuff that I'm interested in. Looks like there's an English dub and Japanese with subtitles. 25 episodes. 3 discs. Non-reversible cover. Good stuff. Then last but not least, we have a Sword Art Online movie. But that's a Sword Art Online P. Probably says there, but let's get this out of its wrapping first. Okay, that feels like a good enough quality. There we go. Progressive. Aria of a Starless Night. That's what that says. So that's what this is. Sword Art Online. And I thought this was a movie, and it's possible I could be mistaken. But I think we'll know for certain looking on the inside. So this obviously, from some familiar weaponry. That I don't know. Interesting. Not as pure artsy as I think I'm used to. Single disc, so single movie. Some nice coloring on the inside. Well, there we go. Alright. Well, looks like all of these are Blu-ray, so here's this week's Blu-ray collection update. Alright, I think this was a kind of straightforward watching week. So the thing that wasn't straightforward is with my Friday friend, so the plan was, now that he was back from his camping trip, we were going to watch however many episodes of My Hero Academia there were, and I think at that time there may have been 2 or 3, and then we were going to fill the rest of our time with One Piece, you know, instead of completely blitzing all of One Piece all at once, because I just don't have the energy for it. He didn't have the energy for it. It was for the best. But, okay, so as y'all know, this last week Austin went through a freezing event. I think more than just Austin, a lot of Texas, but Austin I think was somewhat notable just because like a quarter of the people lost power, stuff like that. I was one of the fortunate ones who never lost power, I never lost water, I never lost gas, and I barely lost internet. I mean, technically there were a couple of power fluctuation events, but they were only enough to reboot my main computer, which is okay for rebooting, but otherwise that computer stayed up, and that power supply unit, no, battery backup unit powered off 4 times, I guess, but that's not a big deal. The main thing I lose when that goes out is audio on that computer, but turn it back on, audio is just right back there again. So, you know, for the most part, I had the last week pretty good, especially compared to a lot of people who I think are actually still suffering. Some people might not even have power back right now. I mean, I got the impression some coworkers weren't even sure if they were going to have power back, and even some of the ones that have power don't have internet. People are still kind of recovering. The trees, of course, took damage. But for me, the only internet outage I had happened on Friday night, shortly after my friend and I were about to watch My Hero Academia. I started trying to debug a Crunchyroll problem when the second problem happened. The first problem, Crunchyroll eventually resolved on their own. The second problem, the first problem, I think was something cached on my browser on that computer. I had to delete the browser cache, and then it finally started working. But, you know, while I was first hitting my head against that to figure it out and giving it like 10 minutes to see if I could, then my internet just went out. And it went out exactly for like the time that my friend and I were watching anime. Now, fortunately, you know, we had One Piece, which was there, you know. Fortunately, there's physical media to fall back on in that sort of situation. And while we didn't completely finish everything here, you know, we had watched some of it before, like the first 4 episodes or something like that. We watched everything but the last 2 episodes on here, and let's see. What were my thoughts on that? Okay, Some of it was, why is it doing this stuff? I guess this is okay, whatever. But then it started getting really interesting near the end. And it looks like the last 2 episodes on this, by their names, because we just happened to look at them, are like, oh, actually, I think we really would have wanted to see those. But we were already pressing it pretty late already, exhausted. So the last 2 episodes of this are saved for that. One thing I never did mention on here, oh yes, you can see this cat person there. They're kind of interesting because their design is the closest I've ever seen to Rankin Bass goblin or orc from the old Lord of the Rings animated things. Not every animated ones, but the 2 that are specifically Rankin Bass. That's The Hobbit and The Return of the King. And that's the closest I've ever seen to something actually looking like one of those goblins that I've ever seen. It's just kind of neat. It doesn't act like one, of course, but it's just interesting that One Piece plays around with its character design enough to have all that stuff. But they have finally started unveiling certain useful and notable and world-building information. Like I said, One Piece is generally good because it has this building at multiple different levels, and you learn stuff of the immediate story that's part of the macro story, that's part of a slightly bigger story arc, that's part of an overarching series story. And it looks like it started revealing information that's finally at that topmost level, which is why some of this stuff happening in this season is looking the best. But, we didn't finish it, we didn't have the energy, so next 2 episodes of that. And I don't know what all we're doing with my friend, because hopefully no internet problems on Friday. We're going to catch up on My Hero Academia Season 6, because I've been enjoying that so far. But he has said that, Sword Art Online will probably watch Sword Art Online stuff just because we have momentum on that. Momentum, give or take that. I don't know how we'll make it all work, but somehow we will. For all the stuff I watched on my own, we've got Adventurers Who Don't Believe in Humanity Will Save the World, Episode 5. Let's see. And, this is the longest ago thing that I watched, so can I remember exactly what happened? They started... I think there was some interaction with our main character and some older characters and things like that. It was maybe setting up... I don't remember exactly. It was mostly okay, at a minimum. Let me see. Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skills, Episode 4. I think I like that. Again, one of the things I like about it is, even though it's definitely this, oh, yes, here's food in a isekai, it still seems to be moving forward doing certain stuff. And I'm definitely curious to see how it continues building as an isekai while also looking at the delicious food and seeing how it balances and plays with all that stuff. So it's been really nice. Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady, Episode 5. If there's anything that I would say that is not so great about this episode, it would be that I'm not sure that it moved forward with the kind of... it feels like if it was supposed to be moving forward, telling a certain story, it kind of hesitated and reeled back a couple of times. Not like it's the only thing guilty of that, and that didn't make it bad. Oh yes, it did end with that, and that was an interesting... Oh, that's interesting. I'm definitely curious to see more. So overall, neat episode. Onimai Episode 5. Like I said, one of the things that's been interesting about this series is the animation. I'm not sure that anything about Episode 5 immediately jumps out to me as, oh wow, they really did animate that. And I don't know that I had that same very strong feeling. It was just kind of cute and nice. Possibly the show has its hook in me. I don't think that it's necessarily that this episode had less animation or animation budget, but maybe nothing just jumped out to me. But cool. Iceblade Sorcerers Shall Rule the World, Episode 5. I think we learned more information. Main character's backstory a little bit better. That's right. What I did like about this episode is it had a character that's been a disgusting asshole, and it had a good redemption for them, and it's better than some other series I've seen had, Misfit of Demon King Academy actually kind of sort of had something implying that here, but it felt a little less forced and a little more I guess just kind of thing that you would have wanted to see given the events that happened, and you didn't expect because the guy had been such an asshole, and you kind of knew that it wasn't always his fault that he was being such an asshole. But the way it resolved and ended felt nice. I'm trying to think if I had any feelings on where it was going to go from there, but you know, it's an okay series, I guess. Farming Life in Another World, episode 5. More interesting farming stuff, I guess, and an ending on an interesting, curious cliffhanger. You know, I'm kind of not expecting anything too confrontational because this show hasn't been about confrontation per se. But I'm kind of curious to see what they use in order to continue village building, which is, you know, one of the nice things this show does. Giant Beasts of Ours. I was a bit worried, kind of looking at this on the outside. Some of the characters have been introduced. But, you know, I think like last week I was worried that the new character that they introduced that was the main member of their group, I was worried about her. Her initial presentation was a bit, then she seemed a little nicer, and she just actually seems to be a really nice character to have around altogether. Not some... She's not mean-spirited. And then, you know, I think we got to learn stuff about our main character. Nothing as deep as some of the other things that we learned about other main characters in other series that we talked about. But, you know, we just got some insight to some stuff there and some interactions that I say were, you know, kind of actually sort of fun and entertaining. So, a neat episode. If anything, I'd say the main problem with the series is I'm not sure where we should be hoping the series is going. Like, I think other series have set up similar stuff where you don't know where it's going per se, but I think they did a better job of having the unknowns be like, okay, I really have to know what is up with this. And so maybe Giant Beasts of Ours isn't as great in that regard, but it's all around a great series. Fruit of Evolution, Season 2, Episode 4. Didn't have that. Okay, yeah. So this is the episode where they finally had our main character be introduced to somebody that they used to know, which is, like I said, in a lot of series, that's actually a really important thing. One of the things you really want to see. And so for them to have teased it for so long in Season 2 was kind of not bad, but kind of a little off-putting, I suppose. It's been, as long as you don't take the series too seriously, it's been pretty fine, I suppose. But this episode did also reveal a bit of information that's kind of unexpected and not completely explained. So I would say that that's a good thing for them to have. My opinion is they probably should have introduced that in one episode earlier, although that's treating the second season of a series with the 3 episode. Maybe it's not that needed because if you enjoyed Season 1, chances are you're probably enjoying Season 2 as well, I'm guessing. There are elements of it that were actually pretty fun about this episode. But, yeah. Chilling in my 30s after getting fired from the Demon King's army. Another nice episode. I think it's building up stuff and ideas and thoughts and playing with stuff. How did it end? It ended with that. But I do like how the interactions, now that they've introduced, you know, and this isn't the episode where things got better, but now that they've got a lot more interactions and stuff going on, the fakeness of certain interactions is not as big of a deal because those are still important, but now they're just their important thing that's just a part of a bigger complex picture, making it entertaining to watch. And again, I think going along the lines of what this series really needed to do, although this episode didn't reaffirm that per se as much as the previous episode did, but you know, that's fine. I don't think you need every episode reminding you of what the series needs to be, just as long as, you know, you're kind of entertained and realizing what it's supposed to be doing and how it's supposed to go along as it goes forward. The reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world, episode 5. What all happened in this episode? I guess setup of some stuff. pretty interesting episode, I suppose. Curious where it's going to go from here. But, yeah, they did introduce another new character. I don't know what this character is supposed to be in relation to our group, so it's kind of a curiosity. Guess we'll have to see. But overall, I'd say still going pretty good. Saving 80,000 gold in another world for my retirement, episode 5. I'd say, so if the first episode was kind of middling, the second episode was like, oh, actually they're thinking about this more. Third episode was a little more middling. Fourth episode, well, maybe middling for third isn't quite right. Still upper mid. If episode 4 was middling, I'd say this one's back up to mid again. So it's not like the highest high of what the series suggested might have been going into it for regarding thinking about stuff. But in terms of, okay, they're doing this stuff, it's entertaining enough. Entertaining enough. And then Misfit of Demon King Academy Season 2 Episode 5. Like I mentioned, this episode kind of brought back a character from the previous season who had a lesson to learn, and I think it kind of exemplified them learning some of that lesson and being more thoughtful and whatnot along those lines. The confrontation is okay, I suppose, although I'm not 100% sure what I think about it, because it seems to be exemplifying, or rather amplifying, what I'd call some of the less desirable aspects of the show. And the more desirable aspects have kind of lowered in a little bit because they're kind of having to make this progress. And I'm not sure how to say this. I mean, the most desirable aspect of it is to watch our main character kick fucking ass because, you know, he's cocky as fucking hell, but he has good reason to be that cocky. And it's fun to see them play with that. And Season 2 was fun because they weren't shying away from that per se. Although, well, they're not shying away from it right now. They aren't showcasing that, I suppose. So definitely kind of curious to see where it continues to go. Handyman Saito in Another World, Episode 5. I don't even think any of this episode felt like it was a 4-strip sort of thing, a little one-off thing. Like I said, the first 3 episodes seem to be a kind of a setup for whatever's happening afterwards, and Episode 4 seemed like, okay, that might be the case. Episode 5 is saying, definitely fucking the case. So, going good. By the Grace of the Gods, Season 2, Episode 5. Let's see. Okay. I guess more interesting by the Grace of the Gods stuff. So more, okay, he's just making an interesting presence sort of stuff. And less, so like, they already demonstrated that, you know, he's not rated particularly high in the Adventuring Guild system. You know, it's not the only thing from this season that's like that. You know, you kind of want to see the character that's rated low kick ass, as not everything can be like Tsukimi. If I didn't pronounce it right, then I'm sorry. But you know, there's something to be said about if you have a system that's supposed to measure how powerful people are and it fails to measure somebody who's leagues above everybody else, then it's a bit of a failure of a system. A bit. You know, you want to look for how it handles and adjusts stuff, but yeah. By the Grace of the Gods isn't about that kind of level of confrontation. It is mostly a confrontation light show. Now, normally I would be talking about To Your Eternity Season 2 Episode 13, except the dub version of that didn't come out this week. I wonder if that had something to do with the Texas freeze. Hopefully so, and if so, I hope they're all safe, all good, able to get back to work and continue not only them making money, but me getting able to watch more dubbed episodes. Because right now I'm 3 sub episodes behind, so I could jump to that, but I do want to watch it dubbed because I've been watching it dubbed up to this point. Then, last on this list, blah 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 blah. Reborn to Master the Blade, From Hero King to Extraordinary Squire, Episode 5. Another fun episode. Like I say, this show likes to have its action moments, and it makes them fun. It doesn't like repeat itself too much. It does very different things. This episode, I would say, had 2 things in there. One of those is definitely slightly more on that gaggy side, as in it's supposed to be a little bit silly, but at the same time it's, you know, still awesome. Whereas earlier in the episode, they have their awesome, oh yes, and here's some battling stuff. So, you know, again, I think this is a good show where if you really like to watch fighting going on, battling, conflict. This is like the opposite of By the Grace of the Gods, I guess. It's good action, I would say. I'm at least enjoying it. Maybe not everybody else does. Let's see. Beyond that, I don't think there's anything of particular to note about Pokemon. Dead by Daylight, I've just been doing some Dead by Daylight stuff, but nothing anywhere near as extreme as it did. So, like, tonight I did play as Michael Myers, and I did tear up probably 6 times. You know, I completely drained everybody, but I only hooked everybody once, stabbed everybody once, and except I chased Adam and hit him once when I wasn't completely teared up, just to finish draining him and to get a little damage on him so that somebody could heal that and they get points for that. But then, you know, eventually I reached the point where it's like, okay, I've hooked everybody except that Rebecca. Let's see if I can find that Rebecca. That was actually when I went and chased after the Adam, but I had already hooked him, so I didn't want to hit him more than once. And then they kind of started figuring out, oh, he's not attacking us. He seems to have something else in mind. And then I got the Rebecca, and it was really unfortunate for her because I guess my build, I'm using Monitor and Abuse with a Tier 2 Myers. It basically means there's almost no terror radius. It's really small. So you don't get the warning that he's coming as easily as you would with a lot of other killers. And then I had also 99 my Evil Within, so, you know, I got close. Then she's like, oh shit, I gotta run. But I had popped, hit her, downed her. She didn't even make it like 5 feet from the generator. But she got hooked, and then I, you know, hightailed it to the opposite end of the map so they could unhook her. And then after that, it was just like sucking whatever remaining stock I could out of people to tear up a couple more times. But, you know, overall, not attacking with them, engaging with them. They figured out, oh, he's being nice. And, you know, it's a lot safer. And like a Michael Myers is a scary thing when they're being nice. But when they stop attacking you and they are deliberately using up all of their evil within, it's like, what the hell can the Michael Myers do at that point? The answer is probably have an endgame build, and that would be something to be worried about. But it's possible they could have guessed some of my perks. I mean, brutal strength. I'm kicking generators really fast, and I'm finding people really fast after I do that because I'm using nowhere to hide. So they could have guessed that, oh yeah, they don't seem to be being very endgame. They're not saving themselves for the endgame. They're not unlimited tier 3. They're not Tombstone. Even if they were Tombstone, it was the purple one. They've already used up everybody's stock. Everybody's good. So, you know, then got to chill and, you know, say goodbye to some of the survivors that ran out. One of them's like, oh, here, I can hit you a couple times with pallets. I'm like, yes, let's do this. You know, let a couple people flashlight blind me. And then, okay, time's getting low. Let's go back there where there was a hatch so you can just get out. Perfect. You know, a nice little game where it's just like, okay, I play a little hard so that we can get a little bit of exercise in the beginning of just getting used to stuff, but, you know, still toning it down. I mean, I'm bottom MMR, so the people I'm dealing with are either going to be like really new people who are going to be at a higher MMR than I am, but it's like, oh, let's pull this guy up. Or, you know, they're people who are newer, but they keep losing, so they've sunk. Or maybe they're chill people, and so they've sunk. And so, you know, I tend to get to the people who can use the breathers. You know, they're getting their fucking asses kicked. They're not getting as much blood points. But here you are. It's a Michael Myers. He doesn't even claim the envelopes. He makes sure you have a chance to claim the envelopes so that all the survivors get the blood points. Because I don't need the blood points that much. I'm liking the blood points I get, but I'm not pressed for them. You know, let the people who have no prestige on any of their characters, you know, let them get the blood points. I'm perfectly fine with just helping people just kind of get introduced to some of the concepts, you know. Maybe I'll, you know, engage in chases with people so that they can feel like, oh, this is what it means to be chased. This is why this didn't work. You know, I like fired over the shoulder of Dwight yesterday as a deathslinger, just to kind of make things a little more intimidating for him. But, you know, at that point, I was no longer trying to hit him, hook him, and stuff. I was just trying to give him, you know, thoughts about running and practice running, and especially I've noticed a lot of these people don't even know how to get to tiles, loops, you know, with pallets or windows and whatnot to work that as well. And that's fine. You know, they're still learning. If I'm helping people learn the game, I think that's fine. You know, maybe they're learning things, some of the wrong things, but the people who figure out, hey, this kill is actually being pretty nice. Like the Deathslinger one, you know, I just, you know, hooked everybody once in that one as well. But, you know, after that, you know, I didn't immediately engage with and harass people. I didn't want people to not be able to do what they want to do. I don't want to be annoying. So instead, it's just like, let's find fun things. Oh, yeah, there's a bill up there who kind of is, you know, making motions at me. I'll just fire up at him until I finally catch him. You know, 4 or 5 shots. I'm not a great shot. Pull him down, and instead of like swinging attack, I'm just kind of sit there and slow dance with him. And I don't know if he got that I was doing that, but that's okay. You know, hopefully, you know, that happens. I leave him alone a lot after that, so that's somebody else. You know, things like that. I don't know. It's really fun to do that. It's really hard for me to find the energy to do Survivor because Pokemon has just put me in a very super non-competitive mood. Where even when I came back to Dead by Daylight, I didn't want to attack people immediately. Even right now, I just kind of want to play the night and take the guards for a walk. Granted, they'll hit people, but, you know, I kind of just think that's a funny, stupid idea. I was just thinking, and then with Wesker, I did have to, like, hit everybody with his power once, and so I just infected them. I didn't even, like, attack them or try to hook them or anything. Just infect everybody once. And then if anybody happened to be there, I'd say the real Ouroboros is the memories we take with us. Which is stupid, but funny. But you know, I don't have any energy. Otherwise, there's plenty of series that I could watch. I didn't even make any progress on Log Horizon. I need to I need to stop putting that off. Get that watched. I just want to do Pokemon stuff. I didn't do any Pokemon stuff tonight. So, I guess that's just the way things are. So, there you go. Lots of fun stuff happening there. Hopefully, y'all had some entertainment from this storytelling here at the end of the video. Y'all, have a nice week.